Oda has done a fantastic job with the world building of One Piece. It seems as though there are hidden meanings within his manga panels, and this is all tied to Oda's approach to foreshadowing, which can span literal decades. It's no surprise that this has birthed one of the most dedicated theorizing communities in all of anime and manga, where fans dissect every speech bubble, they analyze every background detail, and they connect dots across hundreds of chapters. Some One Piece theories do sound absolutely insane when you first hear them, but imagine suggesting that a clown pirate like Buggy would one day become a Yonko, or that time travel exists within One Piece. The most brilliant aspect of the One Piece community is how often these outrageous theories end up being true. In this video, I'm going to be counting down the top 10 fan theories which seemed impossible at first glance, but ended up being confirmed by Oda himself within the story of One Piece. So let's kick things off with the number 10 spot, as we have one of the most hilariously unlikely theories to have ever been proven right. This of course is Buggy the Clown becoming a Yonko. When Buggy had first appeared in Orange Town, he was the definition of a joke villain, a man whose body would split apart when attacked, obsessed with treasure, and utterly incompetent within actual combat. Most fans had dismissed him as a gag character who disappeared after his introductory arc, but theorists noticed something interesting, as Buggy possessed an almost supernatural ability to fail upwards. His connection to the Pirate King's crew wasn't just backstory fluff, because every time we saw him, his reputation had somehow grown despite his obvious limitations. The man survived Impel Down, he participated in Marineford, and he even received an invitation to become a warlord. The theory gained serious traction when fans realized that Oda was deliberately building Buggy's legend through misunderstandings and coincidences. When chapter 1053 revealed him as a Yonko alongside Luffy and Blackbeard, with Mihawk and Crocodile as Buggy's subordinates, it wasn't just a gag, it was the culmination of over 20 years of careful character development, which Oda had masterfully disguised as gag comedy. In the number 9 spot, we have Sanji's royal bloodline theory, which began with a single seemingly throwaway moment in Alabasta where he adopted the alias Mr. Prince. While most readers saw this as Sanji being his usual dramatic self, a select few diehard fans found it oddly specific. Why choose Prince of all titles? They had thought that Sanji wasn't just showboating, his choice of the word was deliberate. The evidence mounted gradually as Sanji's impeccable manners, his knowledge of fine dining and etiquette, along with his protectiveness towards women, all suggested that he has royal upbringing. His North Blue origins raised questions too. How does a child travel from North Blue to East Blue without significant resources or connections? Add this to the fact that we learn absolutely nothing about his family, despite him having quite a detailed backstory with Zeph. The theory started to really gain traction when Sanji's bounty poster was updated from dead or alive to only alive following the Dressrosa arc. This wasn't standard procedure, as it was clear that someone with serious influence wanted Sanji captured unharmed. When the Whole Cake Island arc revealed his identity as Vinsmoke Sanji, the third son of Jerma 66's royal family, every piece had slowly clicked into place. The Mr. Prince alias was a massive piece of foreshadowing which Oda had dropped hundreds of chapters before Sanji's reveal as a member of the Vinsmoke family. In the number 8 spot, we have time travel, which seemed fundamentally incompatible with One Piece's established world building. Oda created a universe which is grounded within devil fruit logic and haki systems. It seemed as though introducing time travel may break his own rules, but when Momonosuke casually mentioned meeting Goldie Roger despite him being only 8 years old, fans had known that something significant was hidden beneath this apparent impossibility. The time travel theory faced some skepticism initially, as One Piece had always been about moving forward, about inherited will passing between generations through natural means, so time travel felt pretty cheap, like a narrative cheat code that could undermine the series' themes. However, observant fans noticed some behavioral inconsistencies in the Wano characters, particularly how Kinemon and the other retainers spoke about Odin's death with a strange detachment, as if it were simultaneously recent and ancient history. When Toki's Toki Toki no Mi was revealed, thus allowing her to send people forward through time, everything had made sense. The 20-year jump wasn't just plot convenience, it was the mechanism which had allowed Oden's will to manifest in the present day, ensuring that his retainers could witness Wano's liberation. This theory proved that even Oda's most seemingly impossible concepts serve deeper narrative purposes. In the number 7 spot, we have Zoro's Wano connection, which felt inevitable long before it was even confirmed. From his introduction, everything about Roronoa Zoro had screamed samurai. His three-sword fighting style, his unwavering honor code, and his deep respect for the way of the blade. Fans theorized for years that his mysterious past would eventually lead back to the land of the samurai. Oda carefully dropped his hints across the hundreds of chapters, as his resemblance to Ryuma wasn't coincidental, especially after he had inherited Shusui from the legendary samurai's corpse. The Shumatsuki village connection seemed too convenient to ignore. Why would Zoro train in a dojo named after a Wano clan unless there was a deeper significance to this? His intuitive understanding of samurai philosophy and his natural affinity for advanced sword techniques suggested that he inherited knowledge rather than having purely learned these skills. When the Wano arc revealed Zoro as Shimatsuki Ushimaru's descendant, it validated every fan theory while adding some emotional depth to his character. It is unfortunate that we didn't get to see a fully fleshed out backstory for Zoro's lineage, as his links to Wano were revealed by Oda within the One Piece SPS. Now, the number 6 spot has a lot to do with chapter 907. When this chapter dropped, it revealed one of the most shocking manga panels in the entire history of One Piece. It had seemed as though Shanks was having a casual meeting with the Gorosei. This image had shattered everything that fans had thought they had known about the captain of the Redhead Pirates. How could one of the most beloved characters in the series, a sworn enemy of the world government, be casually chatting with the Gorosei? A theory then emerged from fans desperately trying to reconcile with this impossible scene, with the God Valley incident providing the framework of this theory, as we knew celestial dragons were present during the battle between the Roger Pirates and Rock's crew. If a baby had been abandoned during that chaos, then Roger taking in that child would explain everything. The timeline matched with Shanks' age, and it would account for the world government's inexplicable tolerance towards him. So this means that Shanks, of course, is a celestial dragon with a twin brother. The theory gained further traction when you accumulate all of the evidence of Shanks having special treatment. He could stop wars with a single conversation and walk into Marine headquarters without fear. No ordinary pirate, regardless of power, receives such privileges from the world government. One Piece Film Red's databook confirmed that Shanks belongs to the Figerland family, thus validating this theory that Shanks is a celestial dragon. His heritage doesn't diminish his heroic actions, instead it adds a lot of layers of complexity to his character. He had decided to become a pirate despite his noble birth, rejecting his privilege of his bloodline in order to forge his own path. In the number 5 spot, we have Kaido's dragon transformation theory, and this had come about from multiple converging clues which fans had pieced together over several story arcs. His title as King of Beasts suggested more than just leadership over animal-type devil fruit users. It implied that he himself was a beast of legendary measure. His seemingly indestructible nature and his incredible physical strength hinted at powers beyond normal human limits. The theory gained further traction through character reactions that seemed disproportionate to the information that we have. Kenmon's intense hatred of dragons appeared oddly specific, especially for someone from a country where dragons were mythological rather than real threats. Momonosuke's terror upon seeing artificial dragon fruits and his strange connection to Zunisha suggested deeper knowledge about dragon powers that an 8-year-old should possess. Fans theorized that Kaido possessed a mythical Zoan fruit, specifically an Eastern dragon model, which would explain both his durability and his ability to survive seemingly impossible situations, like jumping from Sky Island. When chapter 921 revealed his massive dragon form soaring through Wano's skies, it confirmed not just his devil fruit power, but the mythological significance of dragons in Wano's history. In the number 4 spot, we have the empty throne in Merijo, which represents one of the world government's most sacred symbols. The idea that no single person ruled over the world, that all nations stood as equals under their unified banner. This carefully maintained facade fooled characters within the story, but it never quite convinced the most observant of One Piece fans, who had noticed that there were too many inconsistencies in the world government's supposed equality. Theorists pointed to the celestial dragon's obvious hierarchy and the Gorosei's synchronized decision making as evidence of a hidden authority. authority. The systematic erasure of the Void Century and the relentless persecution of D-Clan members suggested that there were coordinated efforts that required a singular vision rather than committee consensus. The world government's actions were too focused and too deliberately cruel to have emerged from a democracy. Even if you're looking at it logically, it's impossible that the throne in Merijo is empty. The Gorosei cannot consistently agree on complicated geopolitical decisions without higher authority guiding their choices. When the Reverie arc revealed Imu sitting on the empty throne with the Gorosei prostrated before him, it validated years of fan theories. The empty throne wasn't ever empty, it always had a hidden ruler sitting on it. This reveal reframed the entire world government structure, transforming it from a oligarchy into a shadow monarchy. Imu's existence explains the oppression from the world government, along with their efforts to cover up the Void Century and their desire to eliminate the members of the D-Clan. So we've now reached the top 3 theories that fans have gotten right about One Piece, and in the number 3 spot we have Sabo's apparent death, which felt wrong from the moment that it happened. Oda had established patterns within the story as major character deaths occurred during climactic moments with significant narrative weight, not in brief flashback scenes. The abrupt death of Sabo and the lack of a confirmed body triggered a lot of skepticism amongst fans of One Piece, especially with Oda's tendency towards fake-out deaths. The theory gained a lot of momentum through careful analysis of Oda's story, as Luffy's childhood trauma centered around abandonment and loss, but healing required connection to his past. Ace's death at Marineford created a void that needed to be filled. Sabo's survival would provide some necessary emotional closure to Luffy. Fans noticed that there were hints scattered throughout the series, particularly Dragon's mysterious rescue scene in chapter 589, where he carried an unidentified injured person. The Revolutionary Army's timing and Dragon's personal involvement suggested this wasn't a random rescue mission. Speculation about memory loss from the Celestial Dragon attack provided logical explanation for Sabo's prolonged absence. When the Dressrosa arc revealed that Sabo had survived and he had recovered from his amnesia, this was triggered by him learning of the news of Ace's death. Sabo's return was the completion of a carefully planned character arc which Oda had been building towards for over a decade. So now we're at the number 2 spot, and this is the Gorosei's cryptic discussion in chapter 1037 about a devil fruit that hadn't awakened for centuries. This immediately triggered a lot of speculation about which fruit they were referring to. They revealed that the world government had hidden a fruit's true name by giving it an alternative identity, open possibilities that fans had theorized about for quite a while. Who's imprisonment for losing the Gomu Gomu no Mi to Shanks provided the crucial missing piece. A CP9 agent facing imprisonment for losing a single devil fruit, it seemed to be quite a disproportionate punishment, especially when we've seen CP9 members being reinstated even after losing Pluton's blueprints. This inconsistency suggested that the Gomu Gomu no Mi held far greater significance than its mundane abilities had indicated. The theory started to really gain traction when fans noticed Gearforth's striking resemblance to Buddhist Wisdom King statues and Hyogoro's explicit comparison of Luffy to a guardian deity during the Wano arc. These weren't casual references. Oda doesn't waste panels on meaningless comparisons, and then the introduction of Sun God Nika lore through Who's Who, this created direct connections between Luffy's appearance and ancient mythological figures. Fans theorized that the Gomu Gomu no Mi was actually a mythical Zoan fruit, which is called the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. This would explain Luffy's fire attacks, his intuitive combat abilities, and the world government's desperate attempts to capture him. When Luffy's awakening revealed his transformation into Joy Boy and it confirmed the devil fruit's true nature, it validated the most ambitious fan theory in One Piece history, that the rubber powers weren't the fruit's true ability, they were just the surface manifestation of something far more deeper. Luffy didn't eat an ordinary paramecia fruit, he inherited the power of liberation itself, the legendary sun god who brings freedom wherever he goes. So we've now reached the number 1 spot for the best theory that fans have gotten right. So the ultimate One Piece theory which connects every major mystery into a singular cohesive narrative, and this is that Monkey D. Luffy was destined to become Joy Boy and fulfill a 800-year-old promise. This theory suggested that Luffy's D initial wasn't just inherited as a surname, but it was a prophetic destiny linking him to the Void Century's greatest hero. Fans built this theory through accumulating evidence across multiple arcs. The D-Clan's persecution by the world government, their reputation as natural enemies of the gods, and their constant appearance at world-changing moments, suggesting coordinated deaths destiny rather than coincidence. Joy Boy's apology letter on Fishman Island and his connection to the ancient kingdom pointed towards unfinished business requiring eventual resolution. The drums of liberation heard during Luffy's awakening confirmed what theorists had suspected, that Joy Boy wasn't just a historical figure, but a recurring manifestation which is tied to specific devil fruit powers. When Zunisha declared Luffy's transformation as Joy Boy's return, it validated the theory that had connected Luffy's journey to ancient history from the very beginning. This confirmation really transforms the story of One Piece, where Luffy's quest isn't just about becoming the Pirate King, but it's about fulfilling destiny that was written in the world's forgotten history. The Will of D is a purpose that has been inherited across centuries, with each generation bringing the world closer to the dawn of a new age. So yeah, this was my compilation of the top 10 theories that fans have gotten right about One Piece. I love Oda's method of foreshadowing, and I love how he respects the intelligence of his readers. He carefully plants these seeds knowing that dedicated fans will notice them, which is why a lot of these theories have been proven to be true. We've now reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What are your thoughts about these theories that fans have gotten right? Were there any that I've forgotten to mention within this video? Do let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you in my next One Piece video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.